Let me start with a simple question. If most Americans earn more money today than people did 30 or 40 years ago, why are so many still living paycheck to paycheck? This isn't the motivation problem. It's not laziness. And it's definitely not a lack of intelligence. It's a system problem. And, more importantly, it's a behavior problem. Today, the average American is drowning in debt, has little to no savings, and is one emergency away from financial disaster. Not because they failed at life, but because they were never taught how money actually works. They were taught how to earn it. They were never taught how to keep it, grow it, or protect it. I've studied the data. I've worked with real numbers, real households, real financial decisions. And the truth is uncomfortable, but it's clear. Most Americans aren't broke because they don't make enough money. They're broke because of a handful of repeated mistakes that quietly drain their future, month after month, year after year. Today, I want to walk you through the real reasons behind this crisis, not to shame anyone, not to scare you, but to give you clarity. Because once you see the pattern, you can break it. Most Americans are broke because they consistently spend more than they earn, and the problem is not always obvious on the surface. It rarely shows up as reckless behavior or wild purchases. It shows up quietly, through small decisions repeated every single month. A slightly nicer car than necessary, a bigger phone plan, eating out a few extra times a week, subscriptions that feel cheap individually but expensive together. None of these choices feel dangerous in the moment, but combined, they create a financial leak that never stops. As income increases, spending tends to rise right along with it. This is called lifestyle inflation, and it traps people at every income level. Someone making $50,000 struggles. Then they get a raise, move into a better apartment, upgrade their car, and somehow still struggle. The paycheck is bigger, but so is the lifestyle. The result is the same stress, just with higher numbers. More income does not automatically create wealth. Control does. Another major issue is emotional spending. Money decisions are rarely logical. They are emotional. People spend to relieve stress, to feel successful, to keep up appearances, or simply to feel normal in a culture that constantly pushes consumption. Advertising is designed to make spending feel deserved, urgent, and harmless. Buy this, you worked hard. Upgrade that, you owe it to yourself. Over time, these messages become habits, and habits become financial reality. There is also a widespread confusion between wants and needs. Housing, food, transportation, and basic utilities are needs, but many people treat luxury versions of these as necessities. A reliable car becomes a brand new car. Groceries turn into daily takeout. A comfortable home becomes more space than is actually required. When wants are treated like needs, there is no room left for saving or investing. The most dangerous part is that this pattern feels normal. Everyone around you is doing the same thing. Debt masks the problem, making it look manageable while quietly stealing future income. Month after month, money comes in and disappears, leaving nothing to build with. Until spending is brought under control, no financial strategy can work. You cannot invest your way out of overspending. Wealth is not built by how much you make, but by how much you keep. Most Americans are not just using debt, they are living on it. Debt has quietly replaced income for millions of households, and that is one of the fastest paths to staying broke. Credit cards, personal loans, car financing, and buy now, pay later plans make it easy to spend money you have not earned yet. The problem is not that debt exists. The problem is how it is used and how normal it has become. Credit cards are marketed as convenience and rewards, but in reality they are high-interest traps. When balances are carried month to month, interest compounds against the consumer. A purchase that felt small at the checkout counter can end up costing double over time. Many households are working just to pay interest, not to build wealth. The paycheck arrives, bills are paid, and whatever is left goes straight to servicing past decisions. Car debt is another major drain. Vehicles are depreciating assets, yet many Americans finance them like investments. Long loan terms and low monthly payments make expensive cars feel affordable, but the total cost is massive. Insurance, maintenance, fuel, and interest stack on top of each other. By the time the loan is paid off, the car is worth a fraction of what was spent, and the cycle often starts again. Buy now pay later programs and personal loans have made the situation worse. They break large purchases into small payments, reducing the emotional pain of spending. This creates the illusion of control while increasing the number of monthly obligations. 1 or 2 payments might seem harmless, but 10 or 15 of them quietly choke cash flow. Future income is already spoken for before it even arrives. The deeper issue is that debt is being used to fund lifestyles, not to build assets. Strategic debt can increase income or create long-term value, but consumer debt does the opposite. It pulls future money into the present and charges interest for the privilege. Over time, this leaves people stuck, always working to catch up, but never getting ahead. Debt also removes flexibility. When income drops or an emergency hits, there is no margin for error. Every dollar already has a job, and most of those jobs belong to lenders. As long as debt is used as a substitute for discipline and planning, financial freedom remains out of reach. One of the most dangerous financial weaknesses in America is the absence of an emergency fund. This is not a rare situation. A large portion of households have little to no cash set aside for unexpected events. When life goes smoothly, this feels manageable. But life does not move in straight lines. It breaks appliances, creates medical bills, reduces work hours, and replaces stability with urgency without warning. Without emergency savings, every surprise becomes a crisis. A car repair does not come out of savings, it goes on a credit card. A medical expense is not absorbed, it is financed. A short period of unemployment does not lead to adjustment, it leads to panic. This is how people slide deeper into debt even when their income seems reasonable on paper. The problem is not the emergency itself, it is the lack of preparation for something that is guaranteed to happen. Emergency funds are not about earning returns or growing wealth. They are about protection. They act as a financial shock absorber that keeps small problems from turning into long-term damage. Without that buffer, even responsible plans fall apart. Budgets collapse under pressure. Investment accounts get raided. Long-term goals are sacrificed to survive short-term stress. Many people believe they will start saving once they earn more money. But emergencies do not wait for promotions. In fact, higher income often brings higher fixed expenses, making the lack of savings even more dangerous. The truth is that saving is not something you do after life is stable. It is something you do to create stability. There is also a psychological cost to having no emergency fund. Constant financial uncertainty creates stress and poor decision-making. When every unexpected bill feels like a threat, people choose quick fixes over smart choices. High-interest debt looks acceptable. Long-term thinking disappears. Financial decisions become reactive instead of intentional. An emergency fund creates breathing room. It gives you time to think, options to choose from, and control over your next move. Without it, people stay trapped in a cycle where each setback pushes them further behind. This is why so many Americans feel like they are working hard but never moving forward. They are not failing because they lack effort. They are failing because they lack a buffer. A major reason so many Americans struggle financially is simple and uncomfortable. They were never taught how money actually works. Most people spend years in school learning algebra, history, and science, yet graduate without understanding budgeting, interest, taxes, or investing. As adults, they are expected to make lifelong financial decisions with little more than guesswork and advice picked up from family, friends, or social media. Because there is no strong foundation, people learn about money through mistakes. They discover how interest works after carrying credit card balances. They learn about taxes after penalties or unexpected bills. They learn about investing after waiting too long or falling for bad advice. By the time real understanding develops, Years of opportunity have already passed. The financial industry does not help close this gap. Banks, lenders, and credit companies profit from confusion. Complex language, fine print, and misleading incentives make poor decisions feel normal. Many Americans believe they are bad with money, when in reality, they are uninformed. This creates shame, and shame keeps people from asking questions or seeking help. Silence becomes expensive. Another issue is that financial education is often replaced with myths. People are told that working hard guarantees success, that debt is a tool everyone uses, or that investing is only for the wealthy. These beliefs sound harmless, but they quietly shape behavior. When people do not understand how compound growth works, they delay investing. When they do not understand cash flow, they underestimate risk. When they do not understand taxes, they lose money without realizing it. Lack of education also leads to overconfidence. Many assume they are doing fine because they are keeping up with payments. But being able to pay bills is not the same as building wealth. Without knowledge, progress is measured by survival instead of growth. This keeps people stuck in place, even during their highest earning years. Financial literacy is not about complexity. It is about clarity, understanding where money goes, how decisions today affect tomorrow, and how small advantages compound over time. Without that clarity, even strong income becomes fragile. The tragedy is not that Americans fail financially. It is that most were never given the tools to succeed in the first place. Another reason so many Americans remain financially vulnerable is their dependence on a single source of income. For most households, everything rests on one paycheck. Rent or mortgage, food, insurance, debt payments, and daily expenses all depend on one job continuing without interruption. As long as that income flows, things feel stable. The moment it slows down or stops, the entire financial structure is exposed. Jobs today are far less secure than people like to believe. Companies downsize, industries shift, technology replaces roles, and economic downturns arrive without warning. When income is concentrated in one place, risk is concentrated there too. Losing a job is not just a career setback. It becomes a financial emergency. Without additional income streams, there is no backup plan, only damage control. Relying on a single paycheck also limits growth. Income from a job is usually capped by time and position. You trade hours for dollars, and there are only so many hours in a week. Even with raises and promotions, progress is slow and often fails to keep up with rising living costs. This creates a constant feeling of running harder just to stay in the same place. Multiple income streams are common among the wealthy, not because they work more, but because they spread risk and increase opportunity. Yet many Americans never pursue this because they believe extra income is too complicated, too risky, or only for entrepreneurs. Others are simply exhausted, using all their energy to maintain their current lifestyle. The result is dependence, not choice. There is also a psychological cost to having only one income source. It reduces negotiating power and increases fear. People stay in jobs they dislike, tolerate poor conditions, or avoid taking risks because they cannot afford instability. Financial decisions become conservative out of necessity, not strategy. When income is diversified, pressure decreases. One setback does not threaten everything. Options expand. Time can be used more intentionally. Without this diversification, Americans remain exposed to forces they cannot control. Hard work alone is not enough when all your financial security depends on a single point of failure. One of the most costly financial mistakes Americans make is waiting too long to invest. This delay rarely comes from a lack of opportunity. It comes from fear, confusion, and the belief that investing is something to be done later, after life feels more settled. The problem is that time is the most powerful factor in building wealth, and once it passes, it cannot be replaced. Many people assume they need a large amount of money to begin investing. Others believe the market is too risky or that they will start once they earn more. Years go by while money sits idle or gets absorbed by spending. What is lost is not just potential gains, but the compounding effect that turns small, consistent investments into meaningful wealth over decades. Compound growth works quietly but relentlessly. Early contributions matter more than large ones made later. Someone who starts investing modestly in their 20s can outperform someone who invests far more in their 40s simply because their money had more time to grow. When people delay, they force themselves to rely on higher contributions instead of time, making wealth feel harder and more stressful to achieve. Misinformation also plays a major role. Headlines focus on crashes, volatility, and short-term losses, creating the impression that investing is gambling. In reality, long-term investing rewards patience, discipline, and consistency. By staying on the sidelines, many Americans choose the illusion of safety, even though inflation steadily erodes the value of their savings. Waiting to invest often feels responsible. People want to eliminate debt first, reach a certain income, or feel more confident. While caution has its place, excessive delay becomes expensive. The market does not wait for certainty. Every year without investing is a missed opportunity to put money to work. The emotional impact of starting late is also significant. As people approach midlife, they realize how much time has been lost. This leads to regret and sometimes reckless decisions in an attempt to catch up. Investing is not about timing the market. It is about time in the market. Those who understand this early gain an advantage that cannot be duplicated later. Let me leave you with this final thought. The financial struggles facing most Americans are not random, and they are not inevitable. They are the predictable outcome of habits, systems, and decisions repeated over time. None of the reasons we discuss today happen overnight. They build quietly, year after year, until one day the pressure becomes impossible to ignore. Being broke is not a personal failure. It is often the result of operating without clear rules in a game that affects every part of your life. Money does not respond to hope, intention, or hard work alone. It responds to structure, discipline, and time. The good news is that once you understand the causes, you regain control. You stop reacting and start deciding. You stop wondering where your money went and start telling it where to go. Progress does not require perfection. It requires awareness and consistency. Financial stability is not about how impressive your income looks on paper. It is about resilience. It is about having margin, options, and the ability to handle life without panic. That is what real wealth provides. If you take anything from today, let it be this: your financial future will not change by accident. It will change the moment you choose to be intentional. And that choice, made consistently over time, is what separates financial stress from financial freedom.